Show me the money. That's what my customers ask me every time I talk to mobile operators around the world. My name is Ajay Rane. I lead business development globally for the telco business, focused on working with our telco customers, identify new sources of revenue. And today, it is my pleasure to have a distinguished panel of guests with me, and we're going to talk about how mobile operators can use eSIM and the technologies behind that eSIM can enable to help them generate more revenues beyond selling connectivity. So welcome, everyone, and let's start with introductions. So Hakan, why don't you go first?
Sure. Hi, my name is Hakan Koch. I'm founder and CEO of One Global. We're a global telecom operator, platform, and also software vendor to telecom operators.
Neil?
I'm Neil Shah. I'm VP Research and co-founder at Counterpoint Research, an industry analyst.
Welcome.
Emir Aboulhosn, CEO and founder of NetLync.
Hi, Damien McCabe. I'm the principal that's responsible for Amazon Connectivity Services.
Well, welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining the panel. Let me start with you, Damien. Tell us about Amazon and what Amazon is doing from a connectivity perspective, and you're responsible for providing connectivity for everything that Amazon consumes. So,
Yeah, well, Amazon's been in the connected device space for years, and if I kind of separate it from Wi-Fi connectivity and really touch upon cellular, really our first step or our first journey into cellular was back in 2007 with our Kindle device. Jeff Bezos at that time had a vision that any customer, like anywhere in the world, should be able to download a book in less than 3 seconds. We delivered on that vision, and ultimately we sold like millions of Kindles. So like 18, 19 years later, we've added a lot more devices into our portfolio. We've migrated from traditional SIMs that were operating in the Kindle at the time to adopt eSIM. Back in 2021, we adopted SGPO 102. We chose that with our partner Thales, and we integrated with a number of our tier 1 mobile network operator partners. We integrated our SMSR into their DP, so we were able to download our profiles.
that's amazing. And remote SIM provisioning is a very important concept, and One Global has been at the forefront of that. Could you share with us what remote SIM provisioning is and what is your role in that business?
So remote SIM provisioning, you can think about it as you need the SIM card. The SIM card is the key to the network. And I'll take a comparison of, imagine it's 1 hour until your flight and you need your tickets. And you would say, can you send me the tickets, but the mail will never arrive. But now you can say, can you email me the QR code, and you can still board the plane. So it's a little bit telco as it should be, because why would you need a physical key to actually access a network? So now you can email it, you can text it, you can push it to devices. So there are many different ways of delivering this. But what happens in the end is your devices have, let's call it an empty programmable SIM, soldered onto the motherboards, and you can play over and store the SIM card. But there's one very, very important element. Security is key. And as physical SIM and an eSIM have a secure element. And this has been shown in the history of telco as very, very robust because it's hardware-based security. So what happens now is, in the old days, you would have security at the factory, and they would make the physical SIM, and everything end-to-end is secure until it arrives at your phone. So now we need to replicate that because we're talking about servers. So you need a provider like AWS that can help you have a certified environment, because the GSMA will not let you run this from your basement, right. But there are very, very high standards that you need to fulfill and get audited over and over again. So step one is this a secure environment, perhaps even higher than normal hosting or secure hosting, with cages and cameras and sensors. Why? Because the whole trust end-to-end is based on the security on the server. And then there is an element of hardware security as well. So you also need to have a partner that can give you like a dedicated host where you can have an end-to-end assignability of this chain. So we're solving the send me my ticket via email but we're keeping the same security level, perhaps even higher, because what now eSIM allows you to do is you put the right SIM in the right phone, and there is fraud possibilities in both directions that you can now eliminate. Yeah? You cannot take a company SIM that might have access to a VPN and put it in a wrong rogue device and sniff around the network, or you cannot also, the other way around, bring different SIMs into devices that you don't want and try to attack from that vector. So for the enterprise environment, it actually fits like a glove.
Oh, that's fantastic, and that's a great explanation. Thank you, Hakan. Emir, you've been doing entitlements, and could you share what is an entitlement? Right, everybody talks about that, and apparently it's very important. So.
Yeah, that's always the first question I always get. What is entitlements? And it is basically, think of it as a gateway, but also something that ensures that the device is properly authenticated and secured, and then also make sure that it gets the proper services that are attached to it as well too, that are certified as well. And then from there, it gives you enhanced user experience as well. So I'll start off with the first part of it. It has a bit of a history. It goes back about 10 years or more. Started with the Apple-based devices, iOS, and that was really around the fundamental idea of making sure that you've got encrypted messaging on FaceTime and iMessage as well too. And the entitlement server goes in there and does a check to verify you are who you are on that device. And once that's done, that's why you see sometimes the bubbles will go from green to blue, and that's now you've been authenticated. Now the device has been authenticated, the next stage is, okay, what services are allowed to go to that device? And that allows you to match the network capabilities against the device capabilities as well too. And then it ensures that not the wrong service is being provisioned. And also, if that service is provisioned, is it certified for that device as well too? That ensures things like quality control that are in place. VoLTE was always a very good example, because if you didn't do it properly, wasn't certified, not only would you get a high call drop rate, you'd also affect the battery life on the device as well too. So that's a fundamental piece. But then it started to grow from there as well. And it's really key features like eSIM experiences as well too. So making sure that eSIM is downloaded and provisioned seamlessly. The one that really kind of shows off its power is eSIM transfer. So in the past, you would take two iPhones, two Android phones, put them next to each other. You would move your photos and your files and your settings. Well, now it can actually transfer that eSIM essentially to one device to another. So it gives that instant gratification to the customer that it just works out of the box. They've gone one step further. Now they've got interoperability. So you can now move Android to iPhone, iPhone to Android. And then the last one, which has been a big debate for so many years, and they finally settled on it, was the ability to do encrypted messaging between iMessage and Google messaging as well too. So people aren't broken apart anymore, or relying on WhatsApp to make that happen. But you've got now the ability to send rich media services, photos, videos, group chats, and everything else without having to leave the device native apps as well. And lastly, the latest one is satellite. So provisioning satellite. And when you're talking about show me the money and revenue, the important part is, satellite's that kind of next revenue opportunity that's in place, and now you can properly provision satellite services as well. So this is where entitlements comes into play. For us, we built something fairly unique. We created a new kind of a segment called Entitlements as a Service, because we saw that entitlements has to be in every single carrier around the world, and we did it through AWS, utilizing it's completely built on AWS, deployments all around the world, from disaster recovery to geo-redundancy to all the security functionality as well too. And we continue to grow our customer base around the world, and we keep deploying more AWS data centers seamlessly as well too.
That's great. Well, thank you. Thank you for being a customer. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
And speaking of customers, Neil, you are at a vantage point where you get to speak with pretty much any operator you would like, right? And can you share with us, how is eSIM transformed the mobile operators business? Let's start with the consumer side, and what are you seeing? What inflection points?
Yeah, I think since the advent of iPhones, bringing eSIM to the mainstream, right? Before that, OEMs have tried getting eSIM, but there was lack of support from the industry. The standards were not up to the mark. And now we have standardization solved. We have eSIM being enabled and shipped with multiple devices. Almost 1 in 3 smartphones shipped right now are eSIM-capable, right? And if you leave out China, it's even going to 45% of all the phones which are shipped with eSIM. So eSIM has gone mainstream. Now it will go mass market in a couple of years. And what we are seeing is with the premiumization trend and the memory glut happening, a lot of consumers are moving to premium devices now.
Right.
And that will drive a lot of eSIM adoption. And once we have this different China versus non-China, China also adopting eSIM, we'll see it even going further. So as eSIM goes into mainstream, what operators are seeing is a lot of savings, first of all. Revenue is the second thing, but the savings in terms of provisioning. Right? It used to take multiple hours of a sales rep in a store to activate devices, and then at the same time to ship the physical SIM cards. The physical SIM card has a cost as well, right? The entire process, again, is very costly. So one of the operators was saying they're saving almost 70 to 80% of the cost by just using eSIM versus physical activation, right? So cost saving is the number one use case, and it's no-brainer. Secondly, it's about sustainability. It also helps them with the sustainability goals for the operators, because it's green, right? Technically, it's greener than the plastic SIM card,
Yes.
right? And the third is the revenue opportunity, which talked about with entitlement servers, smartwatches having eSIM, automotive having eSIM. All cars, connected cars, are 100% eSIM, right? So when you add all of these eSIM devices and different tablets and all the other possible IoT devices, you get a new revenue stream in terms of into one account, having multiple billing and ease of account of managing customers, and also customer experience increases because activation is quick, right? They don't have to go to stores and so forth.
Instant gratification, right?
Exactly.
Right.
In addition, I would even say, in addition, like to the cost savings, it's also about coverage. So it has been able to have multiple mobile network operator profiles on the one SIM, give customers the ability to be able to switch between those profiles, because a customer could be living in a location where the coverage with that particular operator is poor. So having the ability to be able to switch and go on to another network that is faster, stronger, better in that location ultimately delivers a better, customer connected device experience.
And to your question, I didn't answer about show me the money, right? So while within their network, there are multiple devices which can be activated. They will earn revenues, and there's a stickiness to it, right? But the other is a travel eSIM, which is growing considerably, right? So there have been roaming revenues, but there are a lot of consumers which are traveling and buying maybe third-party travel eSIMs. So operators have been losing revenue on roaming. So now with eSIMs, I think they can gain back a lot of revenues and even attract new customers to their. That is the additional revenue stream which we see, like almost $5 billion a year by 2030.
That's a great segue into my next question for Hakan. Travel eSIM, right? I mean, could you share with us the work that One Global has been doing in that space, and also if you could talk about some of your customers and how they're seeing value from what you've built?
Yeah, sure. So from a telco point of view, I mean, we run our own SIMs with enterprise customers, business customers, and so on, but we also have a full programmable network and API stack. So we said, we don't need to own every customer ourselves. We can actually open this for others. Who has the best distribution, the best customer experience, who wants to do something new for their customers? And I think it's one of our most known partnerships is with Revolut, which is a fantastic fintech and banking app. And the next level for them was, hey, we have a very young audience. They're traveling a lot. They're traveling to exotic countries. We're already great in the remittance and FX game. How do we bring this to the digital world? So we opened what we call our Connect API and said, you know what, we'll take care of telco. Don't worry about it. We'll connect everybody. We'll do the SIM provisioning. We'll do the installation, the SMDP Plus. Everything will come from us. What you need to do is you need to enter one button. And there's really one push. You already have the KYC, you already have the payments, so it's literally one push, a couple of seconds, people are online. And that has really this wow effect. It's not so much the technology that you see, I think it's the technology that you don't see. And that has driven a very, very high adoption. I mean, this has gone in a matter of months to 1 million installs and repetitive use cases. And it's it's joy to watch.
That's amazing. So you're making it frictionless, right? Yep. And speaking of frictionless, Damien, how is Amazon taking advantage of some of these technologies that are out there, and how is it transforming the solutions and the value that Amazon brings to customers?
Yeah, it's not just to customers that we focus on providing connectivity. It's even for our own internal business and operations. If I look at like our last mile delivery vans that are delivering packages every day to customers, every single one of those vehicles are tracked. We're tracking location, we're tracking driver behavior, we're looking for route optimization. We have our Prime Air program with drones. We're now doing package delivery via drones. Every single one of these devices are utilizing our eSIM, and profiles are provided by our network operator partners. That extends on to like robotics and other devices pan Amazon. So typically anything that requires cellular connectivity will route through our team. So we've got a huge dependence on what you guys are building, not just on the infrastructure, but also what's exciting is coming up with it with entitlements, being able to add other devices onto customers' plans. And we see a huge opportunity from even from a wearables perspective.
Wow.
You know, moving beyond smartwatches, being able to simply utilize an entitlement, say, hey, I've just bought a new device, I want to be able to add that to my data plan. I think we've all got a responsibility to make that easier for end customers, and then ultimately be able to deliver a better connected device experience.
That's great, great. So Emir, we've been talking about entitlements. You shared a wonderful explanation of what entitlements can do, but that seemed more on the consumer side, right? Where do you see this technology or entitlement specifically evolving as the eSIM adoption also grows on the IoT space, and where do you see some challenges even in that space?
Well, first of all, we're seeing changes on the eSIM alone where you're seeing the consumer spec and the IoT spec start to come together. So this means for us, we're now moving right in terms of the horizontal move to go into IoT, and automotive is kind of in that mix as well too. So I'll go automotive is one of my favorites. It's, think about what are the cars today? They're giant smartphones in a lot of ways, right? And with all of the features that are being provisioned behind them and all the functionality, and they're also running dual UICCs or dual eSIMs as well too, one for telematics, one for multimedia as well. So how do you manage that going forward? And then how do you make sure there's security on top of it going forward? Now you can do a lot of things from the RSP and the eSIM side, but then you've got the connectivity layer in the middle of it, so that service is being provisioned. So one of the things that, again, Entitlements does is that persistent authentication. It's always checking in with the network to make sure that this device is who it is and doing all these checks consistently. Is the service getting right? Is it allowed to do satellite available if it's out of range? If there's a demand for the last moment that you want to start streaming 4K video inside the vehicle, I want a speed boost for the next 6 hours. Entitlements can manage all those services, but with a high level of quality control. And as Damien was saying, the critical part is customer experience. And this is the thing I think operators start to take a look at. There's a tendency in the industry to build all these bespoke systems and try to figure things out, and in some cases they find themselves in kind of an architectural corner, and then they're trying to upgrade the systems. It becomes difficult. What things like a good RSP system does, what a good entitlement platform does, and if you have a consumer device manufacturer in some cases, or even automotive or IoT that is focused or obsessed with the customer experience, then the network operator can go back and focus on the key things: customer service, network quality, right? And on top of it, just making sure that the device compatibility that the network supports.
Right.
These other things are being taken care of by the OEMs and the specifications or by other vendors to make sure that that's seamless. But that is the fundamental piece that's really essential right now. It is that customer experience and quality control around the device activation and the network speeds as well too. But there's so many options to take care of them today, and they're growing at a very fast rate.
That's amazing.
Yeah. The other point about that, especially in automotive, is who's paying for the data. Like, vehicles are becoming a lot more software defined. They're consuming more and more data. You mentioned even content in vehicles, streaming videos, route information, all of that. It's like automakers are struggling because their vehicles are now consuming massive amounts of data. So really, who pays for that? So entitlements could really be a great solution to be able to move that cost from the automaker maybe over to the consumer, where a vehicle could potentially be added as a device into a consumer data plan,
Yeah.
that's making the consumer experience even better.
To transform it.
So, okay, so-
The first critical use case around entitlements came from where it was, it's somewhat, I would say, it was kind of optional at the beginning, but it became essential, was definitely in the wearable space. If you wanted to go and get a watch from, you needed entitlements. Why?
one number.
It does the one number, it does the pairing, it does, again, that attachment that's there. The car is really not much different than that as well,
Right.
though, too.
It's just
so
another-
now, exactly. So I show up.
drivable.
Exactly, and the other part too is you can now transfer those data connections as
Correct.
well too in a lot of ways. So the options become almost limitless in that kind of sense. And once you do that and you put the right customer experience, customers are no longer apprehensive.
Right.
Well, how much am I going to pay? Is it worth it or not? They're in that moment, and I want the entertainment, and all of a sudden it's taken care of as well too.
Right. And then, I mean, to Damien's point, right, it's an extension of their subscription plan.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
if there's overages, then there's overages, they could pay for it, right?
Exactly.
If they need it,
Yeah.
they can get it. But the point is that you can provision it because of entitlements, right?
Yes.
That's fantastic.
But also, even on Show the Money, it gives the operator the opportunity to be able to add value-added services
Correct.
onto their end
Yeah.
customers,
Yeah.
and then drive revenue for those services that they're
And on
actually adding.
existing bills.
Yeah, beyond their core revenue stream, which is their data consumption.
Absolutely.
And it reduces churn.
Yeah.
That's true.
And that's, always
It's
the
a different
fearful
customer
word.
experience. right?
Exactly.
So you
Yeah.
retain it. And so Neil, from an operator, I mean, you get to chat with a lot of operators. From a revenue perspective, do you see this, operators adopting it, and how is the industry embracing some of these capabilities and technologies?
I think the first thing is frictionless, what you talked about. And if you talk about IoT specifically, right, automotive has been eSIM only, and it is the highest ARPU item after smartphones for operators. So they are very well into eSIM when it comes to automotive or smartphones or smartwatches. The next thing is the fragmented IoT market, right, where they don't have much control over because there are many MVNOs, MVNEs which are managing that, right? There are CMPs also which are managing that. So I think there is a lot of opportunity for them to have eSIM on multiple penetration on multiple
Adoption.
IoT devices. Right now it's a little bit low because the ecosystem is quite fragmented with respect to modules, the pricing of the modules, the technology like NB IoT to 5G, right? So there are multiple.
RedCap,
But 5G RedCap coming in, 5G coming in, I think we'll see a huge transformation from the low cost IoT to very, I would say, valuable 5G IoT. So the cost per bit also reduces for them. So at the same time, they can have more devices which are data hungry, which adds to ARPU. A simple example is CPE, right? So earlier, we didn't have 5G CPEs. We used to have Wi-Fi routers. But now 5G CPEs, if they're sending it to consumer don't know how to activate it if there's a physical SIM card, right? So if it's eSIM, it's just plug and play, right? And it adds to their revenue. And similarly, they can sell OTT services on top of it and everything, right? So there's additional revenue ceiling for them.
That's great.
It's even actually helping like telecom operators that maybe even don't have mobile infrastructure. A good example that we've seen with our Eero devices, we've recently added cellular into that product portfolio. So when the customer primary internet connection at home fails, say your kids are gaming, they're watching TV, internet goes down, it's not good. But with being able to fall over onto cellular and maintain that connected device experience in the home is absolutely huge. But it's another opportunity even for the telecom operators to be able to drive additional revenue streams by adopting other network types and services.
There's one piece of data that I won't say where it's coming from, but it's a very interesting piece, and a lot of people will maybe identify it when I say it. But I know that one device manufacturer has a retention rate of around 92 to 93%. The minute they add a smartwatch into it, it goes up into 98.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. So imagine the more devices you can attach to it, your customer has to now find another option that can support all those devices and migrate them simultaneously.
And provide the same experience, right?
Yes, and have the same experience. So it is. So you may not look at necessarily. Yes, the opportunities are there, as Neil was saying, adding in and increasing ARPU. But at the same time, you also want to fight that battle, making sure that your churn is absolutely as low as possible. And so there was always a fear around eSIM where churn would be increased.
Yeah.
It turned out to be a myth. And now it's about, okay, how many more can I get on there?
There's always a fear of new technology adoption, right? And speaking of which, Hakan, you're selling to enterprises as well as other MNOs, MVNOs, and you're almost abstracting away some of this complexity. Could you also share with us some other examples? I mean, you talked about Revolut. That's a fantastic example. What are some of the other things and other examples that you can give us from the enterprise space that you're working on?
So what Damien was already touching on is there will be a new age of security and cybersecurity requirements, and especially when it touches the physical world, like robotics. I'll give you an example. If I clean your Amazon warehouses with an employee badge for the last 3 months, and tomorrow a tall blonde guy with the same employee badge walks in, everyone will say, that's not Hakan, I can see it. But if you have a Unity robot that looks exactly the same, and Monday the friendly robot, and Tuesday the hostile robot walks in, scanning all your customer data with a camera and so on, nobody will know, right? So how do you derive identity? And this is actually a revenue pool for telcos, because there are 2 things that you cannot fake in this environment. There's a hardware secure element on your SIM that has been proven to be hacker-proof so far. Quantum computing might change that. And then there is something that is not in the device, not in your Wi-Fi, not on the surface, but it is the network it authenticates against.
Correct.
You cannot take over the cell tower. You can always hack a Wi-Fi, you can hack a device, you can do, but if a cell tower is a third person, like a witness that says, yes, this is the authenticated robot, we know the robot, it's the same SIM, you never break the chain of trust. And I think this is very, very close. So everybody who uses robots will need to have a total bulletproof identification. And right now it's the SIM. I don't know a better solution than the SIM.
That's amazing, right? No, I think that's fantastic. And Neil was asking me earlier, it's a cricket analogy, we call it a googly or a curveball question. So I'm going to ask the same question to all of you. What do you think of the show, and what do you like about what you saw? And it could be on the AWS booth as well as across the show. What struck you the most?
I think that the new use, people really got, I mean, it started with ChatGPT, and everybody was like, oh, wow, machine learning has changed. So we can digest information. And what you see from every vendor to CSP to new software plays to the all big CRMs, databases, search engines, everybody wants to try to find, and there are phenomenal use cases where you can use AI to solve hyper-personalized issues or very, very broad automated real-time issues. And that application is really, really fascinating.
That's fantastic. I'm glad, in the last 20 minutes, only first time we use the word AI. That's incredible, right?
Good.
But we have, I think it's just, you're absolutely right. AI is just transforming everything we do. Neil, what do you think?
Again, show me the money on that theme. If you visit around MWC, AWS booth everywhere, everyone has good use cases. Everyone has, everyone is using agentic AI, but they don't know how to make money. Right? Monetization is a big question. But again, to give you guys credit, on your booth, I saw 4 examples, all 4 outlined at how operators can make money or save money. Right?
Thank you.
So that was revealing, and I have been telling everyone, go and visit those if you want really agentic AI use cases which are meaningful. Right? So fantastic job.
Thank you for the endorsement. Really appreciate that. Emir.
So I'm not going to say AI, but I'm going to...
Oh, come on.
You just said it.
It was interesting seeing the satellite providers, terrestrial, showing up now almost as, presenting almost as the new branch of carriers, essentially, in those cases. Right. And that's something that's, I think, fairly new. And then seeing that ecosystem that's coming in and behind it and supporting it. And what's amazing is to think, in today's world is that, the coverage issue is now solved essentially from that basis, and seeing where that evolves and how that comes together with the traditional, traditional based wireless services now coming into terrestrial as well too. That's being combined as well. So that's a new ecosystem that's building out, but beautifully being attached to what's out there already traditionally. So it's kind of scaling up to me, that was a nice change for the show this year.
That's a great point. And
I,
Damien?
I would say we're hearing a lot of positive feedback around adoption of the latest standards, moving to, you mentioned it there earlier, Emir, moving to SGP 3132,
Yep.
merging those consumer and IoT infrastructure worlds into one. Like here, we've met with some of the leading SIM vendors, the mobile network operators, the automotive manufacturers, and everyone seems to be super excited about the benefits that's coming from that simplified infrastructure, but also creating the interoperability. So we're starting to see the fragmentation that has existed in the overall ecosystem start to come together a lot more. Even the mobile network operators are now getting excited about supporting 3132, which ultimately for us is great.
That's fantastic.
You know, I was going to ask from somebody that's been in the world of eSIM now for over 10 years, actually, for early versions of it. 3132 is a game changer in a lot of ways. And when Neil was talking about adoption of eSIM, this is one of those hyper scaling events that's going to be behind eSIM as well, though, too. And the fact that those standards have now being simplified as well. And you're seeing it, I think, with the devices on the table right here.
Yeah, and even to add to that, I think we were all excited about the announcement from G&D or Gasiki and Devrient there earlier today. They were on stage with Jan Hofmeier. We drove that evolution in the eSIM infrastructure space over the last 3 years through our engagement with the leading SIM vendors like Thales and G&D. They have now successfully migrated that infrastructure into your cloud, or should I say, our cloud. For us, that's really driving a lot more interoperability, but also scalability, and being able to tackle some of the hard connectivity challenges of being able to now utilize and get access to more local profiles in market, which ultimately we think is going to deliver more connected devices, which will deliver the money at the end of the day, because it's more data that will go onto an operator's network, and ultimately that data is going to end up in your AWS cloud environment.
I'll add one more part, the interesting stat. So last year, G&D was on stage saying they have hit 500 million downloads in terms of from an eSIM profile standpoint. And so, that was a big number. It took 10 years to get there. Right? If you think about the time, now you're going to see 1 billion a year being added on. So it's quite remarkable in terms of how it's going to scale up and how it's going to take off.
No, that's a great point, and I'd love to thank you guys for being here and such short notice. So really appreciate the participation, and I think the verdict is out. The money is there. Let us help you show it.
You got it.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.